who is male. But I think this race, I think even for the Democrats itself, we're seeing Hillary Clinton and Obama coming up. It's just interesting to see that a public that's accepting someone who is of a different color and of a different gender. So I think to me, to me that's an interesting part about the whole race itself.
What do you like about Mr. Obama?
I think that he actually came out. He represented the minority of the Africans and the other majority minority groups.
I think he drew parallel to his own life and what he has achieved, and his message to everybody in America was that he has achieved it, so can you. And as the president, I will make the opportunity and space for all of you. So I thought that was good.
Okay, I think he's quite a young candidate. And given his background, right, I think that itself is exciting, it's refreshing.
So perhaps one day they might have an Asian president like us.
Well, it looks like it's a hot topic because we already have a comment on our web. Harlot is on a roll here. Another comment from him.
Okay, why for president? Gosh, imagine him running the whole world.
Imagine that. Harlot is imagining that. But more interesting, the second comment. Well, Harlot said that while Obama has credibility and potential to boot, most instantly choose to associate him as the possible first black president. Guess it shows how much the racial stigma is still stinging even in current society. Seems everything is pretty much a facade, eh?
Yeah, a lot of people are saying that he's playing like the race card thing, but I think race is a real issue in America, don't you think so?
Mm-hmm. And it's time, you're saying it's time they put it to their own benefit, or
I'm thinking that I really admire Obama for being very upfront about this whole racial thingy, and he hasn't allowed that to put him down, or it doesn't stop him from persevering throughout this entire race. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's good for him.
And a reality check is that even if we want to think that the elections are a great thing, but it is really very much a popularity vote. And if he wants to play the race card, and if it works for him, it works for him, right? But setting aside the popularity vote, the question still begs right here at home, how will Singapore be affected if either Obama or McCain becomes president?
Well, Tracy Swaw spoke to Professor Kishore
Mahbubani.
Thank you.
Professor Kishore Mahbubani,
Dean of the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy and Ambassador to the United Nations, to share his thoughts on the issue.
My favorite candidate is Obama.
Can you tell us more?
Well, I believe that he will inject a new sense of hope into the world. There is now a tremendous amount of anti-Americanism that has risen, and that is in many ways distorting the global picture. So I think America needs to reconnect back to the rest of the world, and Obama provides an opportunity for America to do that. I've never met Obama personally, but I have good friends of mine who know him and who support him. I give you a simple example. The chief speechwriter for President John F. Kennedy is a very famous American called Ted Sorensen. And Ted Sorensen said that in all the years of watching American presidents since the 1960s, he says that the only American presidential candidate he knows who can revive the magic of the Kennedy administration is Obama.
Let us go forth to lead the land we love, asking His blessing and His help, but knowing that here on earth, God's work must truly be our own.
When we came together to remake this great nation so that it may always reflect our very best selves and our highest ideals. Thank you, Minnesota. God bless you.
You can see it. The way he's been able to energize young people. He's clearly able to tap into a very powerful energy in American society. And I think if he can use that same ability that he has to connect with young people around the world, that makes it a better world.
He also seems to be a very popular candidate in Asia per se. Is it only sheer reason because he had some roots in Asia?
Well, I think the support for Obama comes in different ways. Indonesians love him because I think he'll be the first president of Indonesia, first president of America who will be able to speak some bahasa Indonesia, which is quite remarkable, okay? And that's why the Indonesians love him. And I think from the point of view, if you look at the polls in India, for example, I mean, even among the Indians, there's a sense that we want somebody new, young, and different to connect with in America.
Lowering trade barriers to American goods and services creates more and better jobs, keeps inflation under control, keeps interest rates low, and makes more goods affordable to more Americans. We won't compete successfully by using old technology to produce old goods. We'll succeed by knowing what to produce and inventing new technologies to produce it.
I have met John McCain in Davos, you know. We were in a small room together, I shook his hands, and you can feel the ordinary decency of the guy, you know. I mean, he's not arrogant or haughty. He's willing to talk to you. He listens to people in the room. Well, I think, John McCain represents an earlier generation of Americans who had a deep sense of honor and who felt that America had an obligation to take care of the world and make the world a better place. And John McCain is also an old-fashioned guy who believes in values and believes that America should do the right thing and America should do the decent thing. So I think if he is elected, for example, that will also be good for Singapore, because in that era, if you recall, in the Cold War era, Singapore had also very good ties with America. So I think we will go back to a comfortable era of relationship.
Now, I didn't just start criticizing unfair trade deals like NAFTA because I started running for president. I do it because I see what happens to communities when factories close down and the jobs move overseas. I began my career on the south side of Chicago as a community organizer when we fought joblessness and poverty after the neighborhoods had been devastated when the local steel plants closed.
For all the success of NAFTA, we have to defend it without equivocation in political debate. Demanding unilateral changes and threatening to abrogate an agreement that has increased trade and prosperity is nothing more than retreating behind protectionist walls.
So it really seems like almost the perfect campaign. Is there any one aspect of either of their campaigns that you feel that we should be cautious about?
I think the one dimension that Singapore should be most concerned about is the issue of trade. Singapore is the most trade-dependent nation in the world by far. So we want to constantly see an expansion of global trade because that's good for us. But the growing protectionist sentiments in America, the growing protectionist rhetoric among the politicians, this is something that should really worry Singapore. And we should be concerned about it.
Generally, also speaking for the laypersons, a lot of people also understand the Republicans themselves have a certain kind of look and take and feel, in terms of policies, whereas the Democrats are a lot more socialist and slightly more protectionist. Does that mean, does that bode differences for Singapore's economy?
Yeah, well, I think it's important to bear in mind that you must not judge a candidate by what they say during the campaign season. Almost every American presidential candidate changes his policies when he comes to office, not because he intends to, but because the pressures of the office force him to change. I mean, for example, take President Bill Clinton. Before he was elected, he said, "I will not coddle the butchers of Beijing," And soon after he got elected, he had met President Jiang Zemin and had a very good relationship with him.
So I think either way, Obama or McCain, it looks as it's business as usual for Singapore. Whoever becomes U.S. president.
Yeah, even though the effects are felt worldwide, there's probably nothing much we can do over here.
But protectionism seems to be something that Singapore has to be concerned about, as exports and all that are very important to Singapore. And that might actually become Obama's undoing, you know, protectionism and trade barriers. So, well, all in all, Singapore should be concerned about what's going on in US elections and who becomes president. But when we come back, My Paper's sport editor Cha Han Keong weighs in on whether or not women can perform under pressure.